my fellow Singaporeans, thank you all for coming out today. When I thought about where and when to hold my rally in the presidential campaign, I decided to do it here in the heart of Singapore's financial district. And I decided to do it at lunchtime, a brief pause in your very busy days. Thank you so much for spending part of our lunchtime here with us. I also thank many friends and colleagues for their encouragement and their very kind words during this campaign. I'm indeed very grateful to them. Someone had mentioned that they were very pleased and very happy that I have not one, not two, but three women speaking today in this rally. Everybody knows that in this presidential race, we have 4 tons. But fewer people have realized that the 4 tons are all men. I'm confident that this will not be the case forever, and this will change. All of us, our sons and daughters, must know, and I'm confident, that it won't be too long before we have our first female president. I wanted to share with you some thoughts on the office of the President. On Saturday, August 27, you will choose our President for the next 6 years. The President is your head of state. The President is the face of Singapore at home and abroad. He must carry our flag with confidence and dignity. He must be above politics, able to work with everyone. With all political parties, the party which forms the government and the party which forms the opposition, they are all part of Singapore. The President must also work with civil society groups, with everyone, to advance the interests not of a particular sector or section of Singaporeans, but in the interests of all Singaporeans. Our President also has important custodial duties. The key duties concern our financial reserve, Singapore's rainy day savings. working in the financial sector here, all of you know that Singapore faces complex challenges. Our president will have to make important decisions in a period of great economic uncertainty. When these challenges became clear to me, I considered putting my name forward in the presidential race. I did not take this lightly. I discussed it with my family and friends, and many of whom are here today, including my wife, Mary. It was not an easy decision. To give up jobs, GIC, SPH, which I love, give up my privacy to return to public life. But I know that this was the right decision. I do not know if I will win, but I know that I must try. And with your help, I will serve you and Singapore once again. Many of us all over Singapore are worried about the present global economy. In particular, those of you who work in the financial sector will be particularly worried about the European debt crisis. Already, 3 countries, Greece, Portugal and Ireland, had to be bailed out. Spain and Italy needed support from the European Central Bank. Even France, the second largest economy in Europe after the Germans, even France and French banks came under stress earlier this month. America is also in deep trouble. The U.S. unemployment rate is high, over 9%, shows no sign of coming down. 1 in 4 homes in the U.S. is, as they say, underwater. This means that the value of the home, the market value of the home, is worth less than the mortgage on the home, the mortgage which the owner owes to the bank. In Washington, there is gridlock. After endless wrangling, almost up to the 59th second of the last minute, the Republicans and the Democrats managed to cobble together an agreement to raise the U.S. debt ceiling so that the U.S. will not default on its loans. But because of this gridlock, Standard & Poor's, the rating agency has downgraded the US credit rating from a AAA to a AA plus. And those of you, all of you in the financial industry, as you look at your computer screens, as you read the papers, as you hear the news over television, over radio, you will have seen stock markets around the world in turmoil, going up one day, falling down the next day, even in Singapore. So we have to be ready in case Singapore is affected by another financial and economic crisis. And this is why I have suggested that it is not too early for the government to make contingency plans in case we need them in order to save jobs, your jobs. Talking about jobs is more than talking about statistics, because jobs concern people, you, yourselves, and your families. Singapore has a very low unemployment rate, 2.1%. But I tell you, to someone who is retrenched, to someone who cannot secure a job, he or she is not 2.1% unemployed. He or she is 100% unemployed. And this affects not only the worker, but his or her whole family. And that is why over the last 2 months, I've talked to many Singaporeans in all walks of life. The same question comes up again and again. If there's a crisis, is my job safe? Will I be retrenched? And I feel that this is an area where, with my background and experience, I have to make a contribution. Let me share briefly what I feel that I can offer you, the voters. I've worked in both the public and the private sector. I've headed 5 ministries, including the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Trade and Industry. I was the chairman of OCBC office just next door. My office used to be there. And also the chairman of SPH, Singapore Press Holdings. So I have experience in economic and financial management, both from the public sector as well as from the private sector point of view. This background enables me to share views, insights, and make suggestions to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Ministers so that they will make better economic decisions, not the President, because the President is not a center of power in Singapore. Remember that. The President is not a center of power in Singapore. There is only one center of power in Singapore, and that is the government, and that is in our constitution. Our president does not have executive powers except in 5 areas clearly specified in the constitution. In all other areas, the President has to act on the advice of the Cabinet, and executive authority is vested in the government. But this does not mean that the President does not have influence. Our President has access to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Ministers. Our President has access to all Cabinet papers. So a wise, experienced and steady President will be able to make a contribution to help Singapore get through the next financial and economic crisis. And I'm offering my background, experience, and steady temperament to you, fellow Singaporeans, and to Singapore once again. I'm doing this because I want to help us get through the next crisis, which we will do, and emerge in good shape as we have done in the past.